I rarely get personal on this YouTube channel and podcast, but I think it's important sometimes for me to realize myself and also for me to kind of voice to the people out there who listen to me or take advice from me. I'm far from self-made, and my father, I'm from a semi-entrepreneurial family. My father started a home remodeling business and framing carpentry business back in 1990 when I was one. Ran the business for about 3 years, ended up shutting it down. Then he went to work for a developer in southern Indiana, Tell City, Indiana. He went to work for a guy who has a company that builds nursing homes and assisted livings and hospitals and leases them to operators. What he did for me, what my dad did for me, to kind of set me up for success. I'm from a middle class family. We never had a ton of money saved. We never owned investment properties. We never owned second homes or fancy cars. What my dad did for me was teach me how to be resourceful. And what he did is when I would ask him how to do something, or I would ask him for advice on something, or I would ask him to tell me the answer to something, he would never straight up tell me the answer. He would never tell me to get out of the way and just do it for me. He would never tell me what to do. He would always ask me a series of questions. He would always ask me 3 to 4 questions that would frame my thinking, and then he would tell me, okay, well, it sounds like you have the answer for yourself. It was infuriating when he did this. And I was constantly upset and mad that he didn't just do it for me or help me or give me the answer. But what it taught me was that I could figure things out. It taught me 2 things, actually. It taught me that even people who lead others and even people who tell other people what to do, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in business, whether it's in life, anything, nobody really has the answers. Life isn't a series of answers. There's not a series of answers to life. And as a kid, we're kind of led to believe that. As a kid, when we're in school, when we're doing anything, as we interact with most parents and with teachers and with textbooks and with learning and everything in life, it's a series of, okay, this is the correct way to do something. This is the correct way to do this math problem. This is the correct way to do this science problem. This is the correct way to write this sentence. And when we'd ask teachers something, they'd be like, okay, turn your page back 3 pages and there's the answer. Like, look the answer up in the book. What my dad taught me is that there's no answer in the book. There's no correct way to think about any problem. So he got me thinking and gave me the confidence to start figuring out answers myself. And I just think that's so incredibly rare. And what that did for me was it made me realize at a very young age, most people realize this when they're 30 and they try to buy their first house. It made me realize at a very young age that nobody has any idea as far as when people lead other people. I'm not talking about science. I'm not talking about static ways of doing things. When people are leading others, when people are making decisions in business and in life, there's no correct answer. So the people who are leading others are just figuring it out as they go along. And they've just become good at making decisions. I thought, and most people think, especially when they're in high school and college, that there's a correct way to do everything. I'm just going to read the book on Steve Jobs if I want to learn how to be a businessman. I'm just going to read the math book if I want to learn how to be an accountant. I'm just going to read the book on politics if I want to be a politician. There's a correct way of doing everything. That is not true. There are thousands and thousands of variables into every decision that you make. You as a operator, as a business operator, as a human being have to make those decisions. And that's what my dad taught me at a very young age. My dad taught me that there's no answers. I don't know the answer. I'm going to try to teach you how I think about answers. And that's what he did. And he made me incredibly resourceful, and he gave me the confidence to take things on that didn't have a straightforward answer. And that is all it takes to be confident enough to start a business, right? Starting a business is totally different than what most people do. Most people just try to get a job where they can go to the job and somebody tells them what to do, and they do it, and they get paid for it, and then they go live their life on the weekends and evenings. Well, I was wanting something different. I was wanting something more. And that resourcefulness and that realization that nobody has it all figured out, that I am just as capable as anybody else to try to figure these answers out. That realization was absolutely incredible for me. So he taught me how to be resourceful. That's something I'm going to teach my kids. That's something that is my superpower today, is that I can be in a sticky situation with no right answer. I can be trying to decide if we're going to buy a storage facility. I could be trying to decide what we're going to bid on a job for student storage. And I'm confident enough to look at the data that's presented to me and make a rational decision that's going to work for me and the company. Second thing he did for me is he sat me down at 13 years old and taught me about business. I am where I am today because of this. Basically, we were living in Tell City, Indiana. My dad was working at this real estate company who did development. They owned a lot of shopping centers in town. The old guy who mowed the shopping centers in town for my dad's boss, the owner of the company, died. Or he didn't die, he had a heart attack. And he was fine. He didn't pass away, but he couldn't mow the grass anymore. It was the heat of the summer. It was July. The guy was in the 60s or 70s. Couldn't mow the grass anymore. So my dad's boss came in one day to his office and said, hey, we need to find somebody to mow the grass, Tim. Get somebody to mow the lawns for us. Like, call around, that's what I want you to help me with today. And my dad got the bright idea to get his 13-year-old son. I was 13 at the time. So that would mean this was 2002. He had the bright idea to get me involved in mowing this grass. So he set me up with, he went into his boss and said, hey, my son's going to mow the lawn. We're not sure the price yet, but I'm going to teach him a little bit about business. We're going to get this going. And he's like, okay, fine, Tim, that's fine. So he sits me down at the kitchen table and he says, okay, Nick, you're now in business. He put me in business as a lawn care operator. And this is what you need to do. You need to get a bid. You need to figure out what you're going to charge. You need to get a bid for these 7 lawns, about 14 hours a week of mowing in Tell City, which was about 20 minutes away from me. You're going to get a bid together, and we're going to go see my boss, and we're going to sit down in his office, and we're going to present this bid to him, see if he'll hire you. So he taught me about the bidding process. He taught me how to calculate my time, and I underbid the job massively. I went out there the first time, I mowed all the grass, and I underbid the job massively. I was crying. I was 13 years old. I was an emotional basket case. There was trash everywhere. I was mowing it up. It was 95 degrees, and I was absolutely miserable. My dad drives by, sees how I'm doing, sees that I'm just chopping up a cloud of garbage because I didn't know that you're supposed to pick up the trash before you start to mow. I'm a mess. He sits me down in the car, puts a wet towel around my neck, and he says, Nick, you're not quitting. And I wanted to quit. I was like, Dad, this is ridiculous. Why am I doing this? All my buddies are playing Xbox and messing around. Why am I out here mowing lawns? I don't like this. I didn't choose this. And he said, you're not quitting. It's like, let's get through the first 2 weeks. You do 2 weeks of this until you get your first check in the mail. Then you tell me what you want to do. Set me down at the kitchen table and had me do a profit and loss statement. Had me write down all my expenses. He actually had me lease the family lawnmower from him and pay my mom to drive me to town to mow the lawns. So my mom was in the driver's seat of the truck. There was a trailer that I leased from the family, a truck. He had me down for like $40 a week in expenses to lease the equipment, plus the fuel. He had me write all this down, estimate how to run a business and how the business was going to make money and how much dollar per hour on my time I wanted to make. Well, I initially bid $10 an hour, realized really quickly that it wasn't going to be worth that. So he's like, why don't you figure out market rate? We called around to some competitors, had them bid the jobs. My dad taught me about business. He taught me how the business worked. The shortest bid we got was maybe like $240 for a specific shopping center. I did the math. I'm like, holy cow, that's like $50 an hour for my time. He's like, yeah, so why don't you bid $45 an hour for your time and see what that comes in at, see how you like that. I did it. The boss accepted it. I ended up having an extremely profitable lawn care business. I got more clients over the years. And my dad really just sat me down and taught me how to run the business. I actually got frustrated that my mom was driving and I was paying her $10 an hour. She hated it anyway. And I went through the high school hallway and put flyers under inside of lockers for advertising for a job. And I actually hired an 18-year-old when I was 13 to drive me to town, get on the weed eater and help me mow. So I paid them $15 an hour instead of $10, but they helped me with the job and we got done so much faster. I just learned a lot about business, and that's also what gave me the confidence and the ability to go start a business later on, and it changed my life forever. And that's how my dad, a middle-class guy, set me up to be successful and wealthy and an entrepreneur and kind of shift the trajectory of my entire family tree, which is absolutely unbelievable for me, and I feel incredibly blessed. But yeah, and then what that really taught me, what starting that business taught me, it taught me to walk around life. I mentioned this in a recent video. It taught me to walk around life with a different way of thinking about the economy. Walking in a store, trying to think about how much it makes, trying to think about how much they're paying their employees, trying to think about how much in sales they're doing. It got me to just walk around life with a little bit of an awareness for business and how business works. And that's all it took for when I went to Cornell to run track. I had a ton of fun there. I was enjoying it and learning a lot. Went there and I saw this storage company doing a ton of business. What I calculated at it, I figured out the average customer order by looking at their website. And I figured out how many customers they had. I figured out they were doing about $600,000 a year just at my college town. Then I looked into how they did business, and they didn't do a lot of marketing. They did some really inefficient ways of managing their crews and their workforce. They were running around with clipboards. There's no online scheduling. They weighed everything. They weighed all the boxes. That's when really I decided, and my partner and I decided to go into business and do student storage and start the company. And that small business that we got excited about back in 2011 became what we're doing now, which is buying and building millions of dollars worth of self-storage facilities, still operating that service business that is profitable and pays, for me to live. But that's what my dad taught me. Those are the things that my dad taught me that led me from being a middle-class guy to now have the opportunity to build generational wealth, to live the life I want, to work for myself. And it's really kind of emotional now looking back at that. It's emotional because I lost the video. It's emotional because, my dad had the awareness. My dad had the ability to teach me those things, even though he was just a middle-class guy. So I feel blessed every single day. And if there's something you can get out of this, understand that I don't know everything that I'm talking about. I'm not anything special. I'm not a master answer. I'm not going to solve all your problems or help you get rich quick. But if there's something you can take away from listening to me, it's that all it takes is putting yourself out there, thinking about things the right way, and finding these opportunities and chasing them.